Good morning, everyone. I am Tanish from Class IXA at KV02 by Kaner. Today, I am excited to present our topic, Tribal Improvement, Pathways to Empowerment. In this presentation, we will explore how we can support and uplift tribal communities through various pathways. I hope you find this session informative and inspiring. Let's get started. Let's start by clarifying what we mean by tribal communities. Often, this refers to groups like indigenous peoples or scheduled tribes in India who have their own unique cultures, languages, and ways of life. These communities have historically been marginalized, and recognizing who they are is the first step toward understanding their needs. Now, why does improving the conditions of tribal communities matter? Well, there are several important reasons. First, it's a matter of social justice, ensuring everyone has equal opportunities and rights. Second, inclusion is key. We want these communities to be part of the broader social and economic fabric. And finally, sustainable development is essential. Supporting these communities helps us build a more balanced and resilient society for the future. Connecting this to our overall theme, focusing on tribal communities is about creating a fairer, more inclusive world where everyone can thrive. It's not just about aid. It's about empowering these communities to lead their own development in a way that respects their identity and traditions. Let's take a closer look at the current status and some of the key challenges we face. When we examine socioeconomic indicators, we see a pattern of lower literacy rates, higher levels of poverty, and less access to essential services. These factors are interconnected and create significant barriers for progress. Specifically, we encounter challenges in remote locations where infrastructure is often lacking or outdated, making it difficult to provide consistent services. Language and cultural barriers can also hinder effective communication and engagement with local communities. For example, in many tribal areas, there are still substantial gaps in infrastructure and rights. These gaps not only limit access to education and healthcare, but also restrict economic opportunities and social development. Addressing these issues is critical as we work towards more inclusive growth and development for all communities. Let's talk about the constitutional and policy framework that supports tribal communities in India. First, there are constitutional safeguards designed specifically for tribes, such as certain articles that ensure their rights and protections, along with reservations that help secure their social and educational upliftment. These provisions are crucial for safeguarding their interests. Moving on to key policy programs, we have initiatives like the Tribal Subplan and the Scheduled Tribe Component. These are targeted efforts to promote the development of tribal populations by channeling resources and implementing specific schemes aimed at their welfare. An important trend we've seen over recent years is the increase in budget allocations for tribal development. For example, the budget has risen from about 4,295 crore in 2013-14 to significantly higher amounts now. This increase reflects a greater emphasis on addressing the unique needs of tribal communities and ensuring that development efforts are adequately funded. All of these measures, constitutional safeguards, targeted policies, and increased funding, are interconnected. They form a comprehensive framework aimed at empowering tribes and integrating them more fully into the nation's development journey. Let's talk about infrastructure and basic services. These are the foundation of any thriving community. Roads, electrification, water supply, and health services are all crucial components. For example, there have been cases where villages have finally received electricity after decades of waiting, often through major scheme rollouts. This shows how vital these services are for development. But what happens if these basic services are missing? Well, everything else tends to suffer. Without proper infrastructure, education, employment, and economic growth become much harder to achieve. It's clear that investing in these fundamental services is not just about convenience. It's about creating a strong foundation for progress and well-being in every community. Let's talk about education and skills. Education is a crucial enabler for empowering tribal communities. We've seen a steady increase in enrollments, which is very encouraging. Additionally, special schools like the Eclavia Model Residential Schools, or EMRS, are expanding, providing better opportunities for tribal children to access quality education close to home. But education isn't just about enrolling students. It's also about equipping them with relevant skills. When we think about skills and vocational training, it's essential to align these programs with the tribal context, considering local languages, traditions, and cultural practices. This ensures that the training is meaningful and sustainable. Another key point is the importance of mother tongue instruction. Learning in one's native language helps children grasp concepts more effectively and boosts confidence. Complementing this with bridging courses can support those who need to catch up, and incorporating life skills prepares learners for real-world challenges. Overall, these elements, education accessibility, culturally relevant skills, mother tongue instruction, and life skills, are interconnected. They form a comprehensive approach to empowering tribal youth and ensuring that education truly serves their unique needs and helps bridge the development gap. Let's talk about livelihoods and economic empowerment. Many tribal communities face significant challenges, such as dependence on forest produce, small-scale farming, and limited access to markets. These issues hinder their ability to improve their economic situation. To address this, initiatives like the Tribal Cooperative Marketing Development Federation of India, or TRIFED, have been launched. One of their key schemes is Van Dehan, which aims to promote tribal entrepreneurship and help communities add value to their products. By focusing on value addition, cooperative models, and linking communities to broader markets, these initiatives help create sustainable income sources. Digital platforms also play a crucial role in connecting tribal producers directly with buyers, reducing reliance on middlemen. Overall, these efforts are about empowering tribal communities economically, enabling them to gain better livelihoods and participate more actively in the larger economy. Let's talk about the importance of preserving culture and identity. Cultural empowerment is crucial because it helps individuals and communities maintain their sense of who they are, which in turn boosts self-esteem and fosters sustainability. When people feel connected to their culture, they're more likely to thrive and pass on their traditions to future generations. However, there are real threats to this, such as assimilation, where cultures blend together and unique identities can be lost. We also face the loss of languages, which are often the heartbeat of cultural expression, and marginalization, where certain groups are pushed to the sidelines and their voices go unheard. That's why any improvement programs we implement must be deeply respectful of tribal cultures. It's not just about development, it's about ensuring that progress doesn't erode or diminish the very identities and traditions that define these communities. Preserving culture and identity isn't just a side note, it's a fundamental part of creating sustainable and meaningful change. Let's talk about sustainability and the environment, which is a crucial part of our overall theme. Many tribal communities live in forest and eco-sensitive zones, and they play a vital role in conservation efforts. Their traditional knowledge and close relationship with nature make them key stakeholders in protecting these ecosystems. When we think about sustainable development, it's about finding a balance, creating models where progress and environmental preservation go hand in hand. It's not just about economic growth, it's about ensuring that development doesn't come at the expense of our natural resources. Promoting ecotourism is one way to support this balance. Ecotourism encourages responsible travel that benefits local communities while conserving the environment. Additionally, non-timber forest produce, like medicinal herbs, fruits, and other forest products, can be a sustainable source of income for these communities without harming the trees or ecosystems. Finally, recognizing and securing community forest rights empowers local populations to manage and protect their natural resources effectively. This approach not only supports their livelihoods, but also ensures that conservation efforts are rooted in local knowledge and long-term stewardship. Overall, integrating these strategies helps us move toward a sustainable future that respects both the environment and the communities that depend on it. Let's look at some examples of good practices and successful case studies. One example is a scheme that significantly improved infrastructure in tribal villages. This kind of project shows how targeted efforts can make a real difference in remote communities. Another example is livelihood schemes through self-help groups, or SHGs, and initiatives that promote forest produce marketing. These schemes help empower local people by creating sustainable income sources. What really makes these initiatives work is the presence of strong local leadership and active community participation. When people are involved and invested, projects tend to succeed. Additionally, the convergence of different schemes plays a crucial role, bringing together resources and efforts from various programs to maximize impact. So, the key takeaway here is that successful interventions often depend on local ownership, community engagement, and strategic coordination. These elements ensure that development efforts are relevant, sustainable, and truly beneficial for the communities involved. Let's take a closer look at some of the key barriers and risks we need to be aware of. First, there are implementation gaps, which include scheme leakages, meaning that resources or benefits don't always reach the intended beneficiaries. Additionally, there's often a lack of local adaptation. What works in one area might not work in another, and poor monitoring, which hampers our ability to track progress and make necessary adjustments. Moving on, social issues pose significant challenges. Discrimination and marginalization continue to affect vulnerable groups, especially within tribal communities. Gender issues also persist, affecting women and girls' access to resources and opportunities. These social factors can undermine the success of our initiatives if not addressed thoroughly. Finally, there's a serious risk that efforts to improve conditions might inadvertently lead to assimilation or a loss of autonomy for these communities. While development is crucial, we must be careful to preserve the unique identities and self-determination of tribal groups, ensuring that progress doesn't come at the expense of their cultural integrity. All these points highlight the importance of a nuanced, locally sensitive approach that anticipates and mitigates these barriers and risks, keeping our overall goal of inclusive and sustainable development firmly in focus. Let's talk about some strategic recommendations to advance our goals. First, strengthening community participation and leadership is crucial, especially by supporting tribal-led planning. When communities lead their own development, the solutions are more sustainable and culturally appropriate. Next, we need to ensure bottom-up planning. That means fostering a clear village vision and actively involving local governance structures. When decisions come from the ground up, they tend to be more aligned with local needs and priorities. We should also focus on the convergence of schemes across sectors, bringing together education, health, livelihoods, and rights. A multi-sector approach helps create a more holistic and impactful development process, addressing interconnected issues simultaneously. Leveraging technology and innovation is another key point. Digital tools, value addition, and improved market linkages can significantly boost community livelihoods and access to services. Finally, respecting culture, environment, and rights, particularly land, forests, and natural resources, is fundamental. Sustainable development must honor local traditions and protect the environment, ensuring that progress benefits everyone without compromising their heritage or natural resources. Together, these strategies can help us build more inclusive, effective, and culturally respectful development initiatives. Now, as we look towards the way forward, it's important to understand that tribal improvement is inherently multidimensional. It's not just about building roads or providing basic services. It's about enhancing livelihoods, preserving and promoting culture, and strengthening infrastructure in a way that truly empowers communities. What's crucial to remember is that this progress isn't simply about catching up with others. It's about enabling tribes to chart their own unique paths that reflect their values, aspirations, and traditions. Think about your own region, whether it's Rajasthan or the Bikaner area. What specific actions could be taken? How can we tailor interventions to fit local contexts, ensuring that development is sustainable and meaningful? Ultimately, the goal is to support tribes in becoming active participants in their own growth, making sure that progress benefits them on all levels, culturally, socially, and economically. That's the real way forward. Thank you for joining me as we wrap up with this final slide. Here, we see the word conclusion, which is really about tying everything together. Let's start with why tribal improvement truly matters. When we invest in empowering tribes, we're not just helping those communities individually, we're strengthening the entire nation. The main levers for this improvement include education, economic development, and governance reforms. These are the tools that can make a real difference. At the same time, we must be aware of what to avoid, things like marginalization, miscommunication, or policies that undermine tribal sovereignty. These pitfalls can undo the progress we aim for. And I want to emphasize this powerful idea. Empowerment of tribes is empowerment of the nation. When tribes thrive, the whole country benefits, more unity, resilience, and shared prosperity. So, as we move forward, let's keep in mind that supporting tribal growth is essential for our collective success. Thank you.